Hello, everyone. Hopefully, my voice and screen is clear. Let's go back to the questions that we were attempting, right? Uh, the first one is uh, that report to the board of GMR to respond to its instructions to work on following areas and consultants, right? So we haven't got clear here. So what we did, we read the first exhibit. So while reading the first exhibit, we got an idea about the industry, right? The first requirement was here in exhibit 2. Now, what was it? It was that review of work done by consultants, right? But you have been advised to ignore the financial perspective because it's in the second requirement, right? The board believes that you should begin with an assessment of whether the consultant has correctly described the other three perspectives of BSc. Then the board wants an evaluation of each of the specifics suggested under each of these three perspectives. At this stage, the board does not want you to perform the KPI exercise. So, what we will do, in the previous session, I told you that we will go here, right? That how our perspectives are made, right? Just like if, and they have asked us to ignore the financial one. So there's a customer one, then there's an internal business process. Let's highlight, and now let's discuss the points that we're going to be making here, right? So customer. Now, this perspective identifies what matters to our customer, right? And who at GMR is in the government, it is objectives are covered by value for money within financial perspectives and also to improve the public health. Now, KPIs is that average life expectancy, number of deaths due to this, right? So I'm just making a revision of the previous session that how what we did. Then internal business processes and that the KPI for that is acceptable new medicines average time, and what was that? That customer objectives, the perspective considers processes we must excel, right? So this is internal business perspective. So, sir, what exactly we need to do in these three definitions and KPIs? Now go on to exhibit 2 and see review of the work done. But you have been advised to ignore the financial perspective. Don't do financial and do the other three, right? You should begin with assessment whether the consultant has correctly described, and then the board wants an evaluation and specific suggested KPI under each of three perspectives. At this stage, the board does not want you to reperform the KPI exercise, so it is advised you to suggested KPIs and know there are limitations of their coverage. So you have to criticize them, right? If they have missed, you do not have to add new, right? You have to explain that whether they were valid or not, right? Whether they were valid or not, the KPIs that they have mentioned were valid or not. Okay, so let's do this, particularly to this requirement. Now, what I expect is that I should be solving this question, this part on the exam practice platform, so that you get exact an idea that how to do that, right? So let me open the exam practice platform for you guys, right? So I went on to this and then I'm logging in. Let me share the screen for this. Just a second. It's just loading, guys. So wait a bit little. So yeah, it's been added, and here, just a second. So just a second. I guess I have opened my portal, so therefore it's not showing any paper because I'm an affiliate. So let me open. I'm a member, in fact. So any students, so that we can do the practice, right? Just a second. So yeah, guys, I've somehow got this from one of the students' ID, right? So I'm assigning blank workspace of APM. This is going to be a little bit slower, so don't worry. And these are the past resources, right? Past exam library. So you can go there and hear from. I've downloaded this paper. So ACC have given you. So I've assigned the blank workspace. Now let's go there. And it's been assigned today. So let's start, right? So this is the word processor that of your exam. So this is going to be drafted, right? And I'm making it a bit lengthy as well, right? So let me open the question in front of me. Okay, so the question is in with me on the screen. So what you should do is you should get the question downloaded. I've sent you, or I have in the PDF as well. So you must be having that, right? So question is JLand medicines, right? Regulators. So this is the question. I guess the screen is visible, guys. Please tell me. Yeah, right. So it is it. Hopefully, you guys are seeing the screen, right? Yeah. So the requirement was that you have seen, right? That you have to make a report, right? So if someone haven't got the question, leave me a text on WhatsApp so I can send you the question as well, right? So requirement is to the board of, you are the one, those who are going to evaluate the performance, right? So to the board of JLand medicines, right? Regulators. Okay. So JMR, right? This was that you are going to write to, then from, you are just an accountant or the consultant, whatever in the question it is, you can write then date, you can write exam date, whatever the exam date is, just mention that, and then subject. This is a report format, right? You guys are aware of the format. I have uploaded the class of the formats, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to have a discussion on the report have multiple requirements, right? The report have multiple requirements. So we're going to be mentioning in the subject all three requirements, right? So evaluation of BSc report, it's obviously would be here. Then what they asked in the second requirement was explanation of VFM, right? VFM. So value for money. So you have to include value for money as well, right? Or we can say a BS report and performance measurement at JMR. right? So this shouldn't be bold, so I'm not bolding it. This shouldn't even be highlighted, so I'm not highlighting it. And now this is that we have got. It's a better presentation, right? Now, introduction. So the introduction should be a concise one, and it gives you the professional marks. And I guess you remember the requirement as well, right? There are 10 professional marks to develop 5 skills: analysis, evaluation, skepticism, commercial, and then you have communication, right? So communication is on the format you have made it. Skepticism is totally your tone, and in this particular requirement, the tone will be totally in skepticism because you are evaluating someone's work, right? So you are evaluating someone's work, right? So what we'll be doing, we'll be writing an introduction, and that introduction needs to be a fair one, and that gives a brief idea that what this report particularly means, right? So this introduction should be giving a brief idea that what this report particularly means, right? So this report assesses the work already performed by consultants, right? The consultants, oh, sorry, this is not the BSc report. This is consultants report. BSc is your entity, right? You must be knowing the names as well. Balance scorecard. Yeah, BSc is balance scorecard, right? So the consultants interpretation, right, of BSc balance scorecard, internal business processes, and innovation and learning are assessed, right? So you discuss the first requirement, right? Followed by a detailed evaluation, right, of their suggested KPIs. Sorry, KPIs, right? So first requirement is done, right? Then after that, this report also mentions, right, explanation, second requirement of value for money, okay, value for money, and evaluates whether the suggested financial KPIs, right, whether the suggested financial KPIs uh, are appropriate, right? Finally, and the lastly, you can say lastly or finally, it addresses the concerns of the board about the concept of lean management, right, system and its implementation. So all the 3 requirements have been introduced in the introduction with a summarized para. Now, the first one would be evaluate the consultants BSc. You can bold that, right? Because you are going to evaluate the consultants BSc here, right? So now, right, the consultant has identified, and you need to evaluate, you need to criticize, you need to have that, right? So make sure you have theirs BS, right? So we can particularly see that. In fact, let me try to bring the question here as well, right? So we must have a greater view of the question as well. So just give me a second. Let me try and bring the question here. Just a second, huh? So that you guys are getting a fairer view, right? Rather than looking into your mobile. Just for you guys, I'm doing this, right? So yeah, now let's try to do this. Can you confirm me whether my screen is visible or not? So I guess, yeah. Now the questions are also visible and the screen is also visible, right? So it's great and perfect. So yeah, I have not got the notes here, which I made in the previous classes. I hope you understand. Uh, now, so what they have done identifies what matters to our customer who at GMR at the government. Its objectives are covered by value for money concerns within the financial perspectives and also to protect and improve health. So this is our customer perspective. Now, what can you criticize, guys? Any idea? What can you criticize here? I'm open for the points and the communication. If you're going to make, so please do that. I'm open for that, right? If there are any communication points, you can. If students are taking live class, so you can obviously contact me on my Zoom chat box. But obviously, if you are taking the recording because the time doesn't match, so you can contact me here, right? Yeah. So how I'm going to start. I'm not definitely bolding it. So the consultant has identified uh, several factors of balance scorecard, right? However, the interpretation is open for criticism, right? So it's open for criticism. Now, and try to avoid spell errors, right? I might do, but you don't have to do, right? Now, first, the customer perspective, right? Customer perspective is only limited to government. Now, why is that an issue? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? See, who at GMR is the government. Its objectives are covered by value for money. The issue is if you're catering your particular business only to the government, right? So that means there's an issue. You must have a consideration. You must have a consideration towards towards the people of Jland, the area where you live, right? You must have the should have the I must say a consideration. And why is that? The thing is that they are your people, right? So you must have the consideration to them. Jland. Any other points, guys? If you want to explain, right? Because I should be explaining this, but right, pharmaceutical entities have many people, many stakeholders, I must say, involved and have impacts over wide range of people, right? Considering only, right? Considering only uh, government as your only customer seems to be unfair, right? It's unfair, right? It's unfair to that, right? Any other that you want to make? See, I would definitely say to at least for a requirement like let's say this, what we have to do for a requirement like here it is. So the second question seems to be a good one, right? For a requirement like this, since BSc 14 marks, so at least 10 good points, right? At least 10 good points should be there, right? So a performance should be measured having all types of customers, right? So you made a good point. Now, onto the KPI. They also asked you to evaluate the KPIs as well, right? So KPIs is 75.2 years, and number of deaths is 25, in which, yeah, we did an analysis that one bad batch led to 21 deaths in here. So that means if that batch didn't had happened, so the problem would be to only 13 people, right? So 13 to 25. Now that's bad. You need to investigate that whether this death is also a bad batch or not. And if that's the problem, that why that bad batch happens again and again, right? The KPIs also relates to government rather than people of J-land, as deaths and life expectancy is a key measure for government for the decision making, right? So again, they are appearing to be too much focused on, people, right? Oh, sorry, government rather than this, huh? So decision making for their country, right? For their country, and they do not relate to these KPIs, do not relate to people. So again, you challenge them, right? You challenge them, right? Although the life expectancy is more associated with people, right? But this is something beyond their control, as government would be approving the batches which would have direct impact on their lives. So it's to the people, but controlled by government, right? It's to the people and controlled by the government, right? Also, the life expectancy does not only includes, now this is something related to the industry, does not only includes the bad medicine, or sorry, bad batch of medicine, right? It also includes diet of customers, right? As well, which can ultimately lead towards that. So that means that this particular issue, right? That means that this particular issue is not being addressed. You're just mentioning the life expectancy, but not mentioning the reason that why exactly that caused that, right? Why exactly that caused that, right? Also, you are mentioning the numbers. A percentage, change in percentage, increase and decrease in percentage would be a key measure. It gives you a related improvement, right? So also, the numbers of age are not that much appearing. The way percentage could be, right? If it would have mentioned that average life expectancy improved by 0.1%, this would have enhanced the performance measure, right? So this is again a good point. So we made 3 good points, one on the definition, then certain KPIs and all that, right? Now, internal business processes. So in order to achieve our financial and customer objectives, the KPIs reflects the importance of having qualified staffs and their speed in processing applications for approval of new medicines. So this is internal business process, right? So another particular definition or points that you are going to make, you can WhatsApp me. I'm seeing if you want to add on certain other points. My number is with you. Otherwise, I'm gonna draft my own. One of the student has highlighted a great point, right? One of the student has said that, sir, it's again, they're saying in the internal business processes, right? KPIs reflects more of qualified staff and speed of processing applications for the approval of new medicine. So it also has limitations, right? It also has limitations. Now, what limitations they have, that they are focusing too much on processes, right? To achieve the customer objectives, and they're believing their customer is one. And they're believing that their customer is one, right? What could be have done here, what could be have done is that there should be an education processing as well, right? The medicine is not the only solution. The education is also the one. If you are giving some good comments or knowledge to the people, that would enhance their life, that would enhance their particular pointers related to that, right? So we can say, so another perspective being evaluated is internal business process, right? So another process, right? This also has certain limitations. Which limitations? The objectives seems to be more aligned. Now, what are the objectives here? Financial and customer, more aligned with financial and customer related, right? More aligned with financial and customer, or more oriented with financial and customer. Uh, you can say here, right? They should reflect the objectives of JMR in this head as well, right? There should be an objectives of JMR as well. Huh? They should be have objectives of JMR as well, right? Now, which, let's say, a measure of different countries regulator with JMR could give a better view that how JMR's performance is being against its benchmark. So a collaboration like this, that how other regulators are working in terms of processes than you, in terms of processes than you. Similarly, we can say here that the KPIs have qualified staff and the speed of processing in applications. Now, here you can say the rejections, yeah. Similarly, the rejections in batches shall also be mentioned as if the rejections are higher, that means either the quality of production has fallen, or JMR has made their requirements of product acceptance greater, right? So if JMR has made the requirements of product acceptance greater. So this is also an issue. So our rejections should be mentioned here, right? Similarly, right? And measure to educate public should also be included in one of the processes, right? In one of the processes maintained by JMR, as medicine is always doesn't considered as a solution to a problem. An appropriate knowledge and a healthy diet can always reduce the problems, right? Therefore, one of the processes should be education for the people of JLAN, right? And most of the regulators do that. They do educate people that don't just focus on your particular medicines. First, try to go on that, right? In fact, I remember that when people are getting insomnia, right? They cannot sleep. So when they go to the psychologist, they do not just directly give the pills of sleeping. Else, you will be going into sleep, but you will be getting habitual of that. So what they will do, they'll try to get you treated without medications, and once that is done, then it's fine. But if the case is worsened, then the medications are involved. So rather than getting directly new medicines approved and all that, this should be not a prime duty of the regulator, right? Regulator should have a responsibility to educate people as well, right? Oh, sorry. Let me open the workspace again. Sometimes this happens. So don't you worry, your answers would be safe, right? Now, what's data? The KPIs should also mention the rejections of product as well, right? Should rejections and basis of that as well, right? And yes, one more important that a student has highlighted. Just a second. That's this issue. We could have discussed this issue as well, right? Which one? Yeah, and then we can see in the KPIs. Yeah, you could have written this 21 that's as well, right? I missed, but you could have written. No problem. Right? Now the last one is, one of the student wants to comment on 3 months. So this also needs to be further clarified, right? Now, staff's KPI seems to be a subjective one, right? As staff can be from any department, whereas the core department in pharma sector seems to be the production one, right? Therefore, mentioning the staff departments, okay, along with their seats filling time should be considered, right? Because the staff, if it's something from the finance, it might have 3-6 months to go beyond that. But if it's from particularly from production department or evaluation department, they should be immediately hired, right? They should be immediately hired. Okay. Any questions still here, guys? And 3 months still, yeah, you can comment on 3 months as well, right? The 3 months for fulfillment itself seems to be a higher time, irrespective of department. Therefore, KPIs should be more detailed in internal business processes, right? Now, the third one is, now what a student would have done. Student would have commented on financial as well. In the requirement, they have specifically mentioned that financial will be catered in the next requirement. But a student is a student. It would have done that issue as well. Huh? So the third factor is innovation, right? And learning perspective, which in this sector directly associates with new medicines being made or new research being conducted onto the upcoming or unidentified diseases, right? Now, the definition within a changing environment, right? Perspective, ability to organization to maintain its objectives with a changing environment. This seems to be unclear, right? The definition seems to be unclear, and the fact is that mentioning the change only the changing environment. Now see the criticism too, now changing environment, right? Mentioning only the changing environment is not sufficient, right? Sufficient. Okay. There should be external benchmarks, right? With other countries or other regulators contributing in innovation, and more specifically in technology based head would be presenting a better picture, right, for learning. And you can comment on KPI as well. I guess we have made enough paragraphs, first, two, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. We would have made as well, right, that a public understanding, yeah, there should be. Rather than going on a public understanding, we could have written here in the customer that there should be a KPI related to public understanding, right, of medicines as well, which isn't available here because a knowledge to public specifically on medicines could avoid losses due to wrong usage, right? So guys, I guess we have mentioned enough points, although the KPIs could also be challenged here, right? The KPIs can also be challenged here. Like, for example, the new products developed on a 5-year average rather than the 1-year average could be taken, or 2 years average. Similarly, a comparison of last 5 years to more than that 5 years, this could also be added. But I guess we have written enough for 14 marks, right? And skepticism, tone, communication, analysis, and what at last you can do is you can do this as well, right? In making your answer, and that's to be done particularly once you are on the end or once you have got time, right? Since the paper is computer based, so we have got enough time. So customer, then internal business processes, right? So we could do these type of shashka as well, right? And then we have innovation. So if you want to add the KPI, right, it's totally up to you. You can do that. Huh? So for 14 marks, this is, I guess, great. In the next class, we'll be trying to do this requirement. So try to self-attempt it and send it to me for marking. And in the third class, we'll be doing this. So we'll go requirement by requirement. We'll have multiple sessions to discuss and understand each and every requirement, which itself will give a better picture, right? So see you are all in the upcoming session. Till then, submit your assignments.